Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film, and they discuss it. Today, we're talking about 2007's 30 Days of Night, which was directed by David Slade. I'm your co-host, Alec.
I'm Eric, and with us again is Dom Berger. Is this a Stephen King book?
No, it's no book in at all. Although graphic novel maybe, but this is just. I like this movie, so I'm so excited that I get to be a part of this episode. You know, like it was one of those things where like you had like a wish list, and I was like, oh yeah, like 30 Days of Night. Because I remember being surprised. You know, like the commercials didn't really like give away what like the tone of the movie. And I went to go see it, and it was kind of, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but like it was a movie I wanted to definitely talk about. So have you guys seen it before this episode?
Yes, I've seen it at least once. I want to say twice, but a very minimal once. I did read the graphic novel, too, actually.
No way.
Yeah, I went through a big graphic novel phase when I was a concierge, and I did read it. I did. It was pretty good from what I remember, but it was years ago, and I was drinking, so I don't remember.
Yeah. I barely remember this as well. I think I was drinking or whatever late night and watched this as well, so I'm with you there, Alec. But I remembered like the general plot. But I gotta say, Don, this is a cool concept. On paper, you say this out loud, it's like, that's a cool idea. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
It's definitely a cool idea. I like I looked online afterwards. It did not get received well, right? Like the scores were bad, and I can understand. Like, I don't know. For me, it's like, all right, well, obviously the main character isn't a very strong character. He's just kind of there. But you're right, Eric. The concept, like 30 Days of Night, there was some really good performances. What's the guy from Hell or High Water?
What's his name? Ben Foster or whatever, that guy?
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
He always like brings it in intense roles. He was in that like Justin Timberlake movie. You just see him sprinkled in here and there. And this was like just a full meal for him. He was just like fully just going for it. I like that. And then the vampires, I always thought about like we did Salem's Lot, right? I always think about a vampire story and what would really happen if you have like a vampire who's like trying to feed on these people's blood, right? He can't be killed in the conventional ways. Like he would probably be this savage monster going from like home to home. Usually you just see one vampire and they go to him. This is one where it's like a group of them just like savagely rip people out of their homes. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen anything as aggressive as this.
Yeah.
Violent. It's violent. It's animalistic too. Like they made the vampires like, I kind of feel like that's what vampires would really be like if there was actual real vampires. Like they wouldn't be sexy Robert Pattinson. It would be like, no, I'm an animal, and they make these like velociraptor noises.
It was very of the times too, like the fast zombie thing, because they kind of had like a zombie vampire thing going on. They weren't stupid, but they seemed more like mindless, just killing machines. So yeah, it did seem like they were like faster, more violent vampires than we were used to. And then Twilight came out the next year and kind of derailed everything. But yeah, on paper, this idea is so sick. It's just like, all right, there's like a couple places in the world where the sun goes down for this long. What if this tribe of vampires just like hunted down the people? Like such a good idea. But, you know, I gotta say, like, it's a little long. And the other thing is, this is kind of what, like, I don't know, made me not love it as much, but just like there was like sprinkles of it throughout. Like the main vampire guy, he would, like John Huston or whatever, he would talk about like, you know, they're our kind and we've been hiding for so long and blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like they had like much of a direction. You know, it was 30 days and we barely saw anything that they were like talking about. So I think that's what I didn't like. It didn't have enough of the explanation of what the vampires were doing.
I think that's exactly it. Simply put, the idea is amazing, the concept's amazing, it just wasn't executed properly. Like, imagine doing, like, day 1, day 2, and we see, like, the days go by of 30 days, like, perfectly. I think that would have been a cooler way to do it. Then just, like, all of a sudden there's a blizzard. It's like, how much longer? It's, like, 18 days, he has a beard now. It's like, it just lost it a little bit.
No, this is perfect, because I was watching it thinking, like, okay, this is a great concept, right? You're starting to see the days pass by, and I was thinking, all right, where they go long, right, in the end with this like Rocky 5 fist fight out in the middle, like everyone's surrounding them, right?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I wouldn't have done that. I understand like they're trying to show the sacrifice or blah, blah, blah. But I was thinking Eric probably has a really good idea on how to fix it, right? if you had the same concept, what beats might you add to this? Like, what do you think would be a really cool thing if you have a town that gets, I like even the setup where it's like, they don't waste a minute, right? Power cuts, people just start getting taken out. There's not like the first night seems so intense, right? It's got that zombie feel. You get scratched or whatever. You don't have to just be bit. Like, you become one of them quickly. Like, what would you have liked to see explored? Because I was thinking the same thing where it's like, all right, I wish there was more to this. Definitely didn't have to be under, whatever, 2 hours was roughly what it was.
Well, they kind of, to answer that question from my perspective, they kind of did that, and then they went away from it and they made it more action-packed, when it could have been like a really good scripted, like, storytelling movie if like they realized like if we just wait for like 20 days, like vampires, they can't be in the daylight, and we're about to get hit with like 30 days of daylight, so it's like we need to just hold the fort, and just coming up with ways where they're hiding. I mean, they kind of did in the attic, like Anne Frank style, but yeah, I guess the movie does take a lull at that point, and it completely slows down, but you could add things in there where like someone is sick and you need to get medicine and you need to do this, and like it just kind of, I mean, that kind of happened, but the day one, day two, I wanted to see it like linear, like, oh man, they only have to wait like 3 more days. Like I wanted to feel that anticipation, but they didn't. They kind of dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
But there's things there's also things like sprinkled in that I wouldn't sprinkle in, like the woman who misses her plane or whatever.
Yeah,
that was stupid. To me, that was like, I was like, you're not going to miss that plane. Like I would be at that airport at least 18 hours early before
it crashed. She got crashed in the snowplow thing.
Yeah, but like think about this. Like I am no way missing this flight, and it seems like she was already late to it. Like you're about to get stuck for not a day, not like 6 hours, 30 days if you miss this flight. Yeah. So I would be there the day before, probably sleeping in the
Well, Josh Hartnett needed a hot girlfriend.
I know. It adds up. But yeah, the small stuff like that kind of drove me crazy. But Alec, this really reminded me of, imagine telling a vampire this. Like, hey, did you know this place in Alaska exists? And they're like, what? I just want to see like how they found out about this place, like how many years later. It's like telling a kid that Chuck E. Cheese exists. But it reminded me of, you used to make this joke about like imagine being in a third world country and then like someone tells you what Americans do with water. It's like, yeah, we put them in balloons and we like throw them at each other. It's like, we haven't had rain in like 80 days, like
right. No, because this is like the best thing in the world for vampires. Just like a town that's cut off, that completely is just for 30 days. There's no sunlight. Like, it's perfect.
But they make that line, right, where it's just like, we should have came here a long time ago. It's like, yeah. Like, how did you find out? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, also, like, can they look at the news? Like, can they read papers? They must know that there's areas in the world that go through this. I think, like, Sweden, Norway, like, all those, like, high northern hemisphere countries go through periods like this, so...
Well, dude, he's like centuries, It was centuries we've tried to convince them that we are like a myth. And it's like, in centuries, you guys haven't heard of Alaska?
No, that was my thing, Dom, too. When they're like, oh, imagine like every 100 years they come back here or something. I don't know. Like, let the population build up and then they take it down again. I don't know.
Here's my other vampire gripe. I have a major vampire gripe in this movie. Okay. So from what we know, vampires have to be given permission to go into the house, right? These vampires were walking into every house they wanted to and not asking permissions. I'm just saying, I don't know what the rules are with these vampires. I don't know.
That's a major, you have to be welcomed in. That's a major rule. They don't even go into anything else about killing. Like, you need to stake them in the heart, you need to burn their coffin. Just daylight was the only thing, period, right?
Dude, I love how the girl vampire would just throw her body through windows. She was like, fuck the door. I'm just going straight through the window.
Well, I mean, maybe that's why she wasn't welcomed in, so she bust in, like B&E.
Well, so like I liked the first night takeover, and the second night, you know what I thought it was going to be like, guys? I thought it was going to be like Predator, right? So they send out that girl from before, right? They're like, people are disappearing, and you're like, oh, they're going to use them to draw these people out, and that starts to happen, and then it kind of just like after a while, they're like, there's no subtlety, like they're just going to burn the town down, which they could have done night 2.
Yeah.
Totally. And that was another thing I had, Dom, where it's just like, how so that the population right now is 151. And what was it before they changed the board? It was like 500, right?
520, something like that.
So maybe 200 houses, maybe 200 houses, apartments, those vampires would be knocking door to door by the second or third day and got everyone, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. 30 days and there's a small town that they can't leave. Like, come on, they're going to find them so fast.
It's like, where are they? It's like, they got to be in one of these 30 houses. I just don't know which one. Like,
Yeah.
Dude, you know what set off my anxiety was when that dad with like dementia who's like up in the attic.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be such a bigger player. Like he got that his son murked, but like he kind of just ran off on his own. I thought for sure he was going to like wake up in a fit and then that was going to be, but they had to keep it going a little bit longer. I was hopeful that I was like, God, if I had a dad with dementia, like, I don't know what I would do.
Got to put him on a leash or something. I mean, not to be disrespectful, but in that scenario, you gotta keep him in the house. Like,
true talk. I think I would literally be like, Dad, I'm sorry, I can't afford to have you going outside.
I'm not saying like tie him to the bed, but like put him on something to like, hey, like can't go out there, buddy. Like, come back. It's like, why do I have this on my leg? It's like, it's because of there's a COVID outside. Oh, I knew it was the Russians. And it's like, yeah, Dad, it's the Russians. Come on, come back.
No, but you're right. Like, they introduce that character and you're like, okay, like something's definitely going to happen. And the only repercussion is his kid dies because he like goes out after him. Like, that was so dumb. They raised, and the same thing with that little girl where they're like, walk through town screaming or whatever. And you see Josh Hartnett, you think he's going to save her and then he doesn't. And then nothing happens. Everybody just kind of moves on. You're like, okay, like that was the one scene though that I really remembered from seeing it when I was like probably like 18 or whatever. Was he's just like, no God, and I was just like, oh man, this fucked up.
That's one of the scenes that stuck out with me. That's so funny. It's like just when he looks up at the sky and like when's the divine intervention happening? And that was a really powerful scene.
I thought Josh Hartnett was gonna save her, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, all right.
Nope. That sucks. And she got murked too.
Well, there were some kills, man, that they like the chopping off of that dude's head in front of like the grinder. Like, oh, yeah. I was like, damn, man, that's some A+ visual effects right there.
It was raw, dude. It was like this. If this is happening, like people are not gonna get off easy. There's no like easy way out. Like the dogs aren't living. And like speaking of the dogs getting stabbed at the beginning, Miley, my dog, went nuts, and I'm like, oh my God, this poor dog is a COVID puppy, but she's seen some horror movies, and this is another one that we've done.
And not to like give too much credit to it, but like that woman being pulled underneath the houses in the beginning, that fucking, I was like, I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah, I know. And then her husband survives, and they just like leave him there. Because didn't they say like don't infect anybody? Like, so why'd that guy survive? What was his deal?
Because he didn't get attacked, or he was, the people that they ate, they would kill, right? They'd take off their heads. That guy just got like slashed, and then he became like, was he the one who became a vampire?
I think yeah. You know that shot of the aerial attack, right? And that was the best shot in the movie when they do like the aerial, like when the town's getting completely destroyed. And
yes, dude, felt like very True Detective.
Really, really cool shot. But like I think like during that scene, you just got to imagine he was nipped and he went under.
No, he was the guy that got dragged under the house. Or he's like Allison or whatever, and he's dragged, and his wife gets dragged under. Then he gets dragged under, and then the vampire like scratched him. And was like, all right, you're fine, leave it alone.
I guess that's another bait thing. It's like let's use him as bait and like turn him into like a half vampire thingy. I don't know. Maybe that was.
I don't know. It was a little odd.
There's a lot that happened in this movie. It could have been cleaned up and done better, I guess. But yeah.
Well, here's another thing I just want to like wonder about. Who the hell is Ben Foster in this movie? Like the guy that's like crazy or whatever, and like I guess he's the one that told the vampires about this place, and he's like, they're gonna make me a vampire now that I showed them this place. But what the fuck was the point of all of that? He just gets murdered immediately, so the vampires just tricked him, I guess.
He's the
was he like he was like a halfway vampire, right?
No, he's
the whatchamacallit, the movie that, what's the guy that works with Dracula who's like a human host that goes in and secures
it's R.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Whatever. Remsfield or something like that. But like he's the dude that goes in and like other stories. He's the guy who like sets up operations within the town during the day so the vampire can have a house at night.
Okay.
Like in Fright Night. Remember the Fright Night guy who guards?
Yeah,
exactly.
They hated this guy, and they killed him immediately. And also, it's like they come into the jail, they kill the grandma while this guy is locked up. They leave, then the head guy has to come and be like, "Oh, like, thank you," and then kill. Why did they kill him when he was already tied up? They didn't know who he was, right?
I thought that's why he didn't die. He was shot twice at least, and he's bleeding out. But I think he was like half vampire at that point.
How would he
Maybe
have?
that's my
I don't
take.
know. He was shot in the shoulder. Well, you're right. He was asking for raw meat. Maybe he was just pretending. He's like a poser vampire. But he got shot in the shoulder. Then they put his arms up. Like, that must have hurt so bad.
You're not gonna live. It's like he's there for like 3 days, right? Like that sucks.
Yeah, I guess. I don't, because the movie makes it feel like it's like 2 days, but it's literally 30 days. So I don't know. Kind of crazy.
Dude, that's the only thing is like it didn't really pace out those like, you know, it was like 7 days later, 17 days later.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like the sun's coming up in the morning. You're like,
Right.
wow.
That's what would have made it more clear cut for me is if they went like day one, like 2 days before the sun goes down, you know, kind of thing, like for good. Like I wanted to see that build up, and then the sun goes down, and then we go from there.
Yeah, like, or what if like they send a couple vampire scouts to like check it out to see if it's worth it, and then the people kill the vampire scouts, so they send more, so that takes a couple days or I don't know, because they just jumped around way too much for 30 days. Make it 10 days a night, because it was unbelievable.
Or this too at the airport, the small airport, the vampires start there, so no one can leave. Like even the population in general, like they block the roads somehow, and like they really trap people in before they leave.
Yeah, and having the people at the airport fight or whatever, just like drag it out on.
Yeah, kind of like Call of Duty.
Yeah, dude. I thought that it was cool that like none of these people stood a chance against the vampires. And that's why I was like, all right, like literally these guys are getting their cars tossed around. Like no one has a shot, right? The hiding was a little bit unrealistic. My problem was like Josh Hartnett turns into a vampire. He's like 15 minutes a vampire, and he has like the power and strength to like reach and like cut through this dude's head.
Right.
And like, I was like, that's kind of a bummer. And then this whole like, hey, I know I'm turning into a vampire. I obviously have super strong strengths and effects from this thing. I'm going to curl up with you while I burn to death in the sunlight. I was like, I don't know, man. If you're ever going to do something stupid, it's when you're being scolded by the sun for the first time.
Just a little bit of context really quick, Eric, just so like anybody listening that haven't seen it, just so Dom basically just explained the ending. So yeah, Josh Hartnett injects himself. No, just so people know like what it is. He injects himself.
Dom, it's fine.
No, yeah, you're fine, Dom. Oh yeah, I just want people to know like what's going on. He injects himself with a vampire's blood. One of his friends who gets infected's blood. So then he's like, okay, I'll fight the vampires now. But yeah, so just so people know, like he was a vamp. That's how he became.
What they should have done is the old school. Like at the end, it's like actually like. The only way I could beat him is become one of them. And like he kept it secret instead of like shooting up in front of everybody.
Shooting up. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what happened. Like imagine like a vampire slit him too, like the guy who was under the roof, and he just kept that a secret. He's like, I became a vampire, and I got super strong.
Yeah.
And it took him out. It's like now it's like, oh no, you're a vampire. It's like no, instead it's like literally he's a heroin addict and shoots up vampires.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's kind of what happened. Like, I mean, I think it'd be cool if it was a secret, like they usually do in zombie movies. Like they get out, it's like, oh my god, we made it, we beat all the zombies. He's like, almost, and the guy shows his arm, and it's like his wrist is bit. He's like, okay, well, you're screwed. So
yeah.
You know.
So Alec, do you remember in the comic book if like I don't know the syringe? And I had no idea what Josh Hartnett was doing with the syringe until he did it. I was like, I don't know what is happening right now, and
yeah,
like taking the blood out of the dead person, putting it into himself. You know, like it just seemed like
a little jumping the shark a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed like a really Hail Mary thing. But was the comic book similar or?
I don't remember, but I know it's kind of the same where it's like he allows himself to become a vampire. I do know that, and I think he does do the injection thing. So it's kind of lame. I can't remember how the buildup is, but this felt so abrupt. He's like, "Wait, holy shit!" And you're like, "What?" And all of a sudden, he just like, so he has the thought internally, but he just doesn't. It's not conveyed at all on screen. So it's just kind of like, okay. Yeah, all right,
I don't even remember how did he get a syringe even.
I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
Like weren't they in like a warehouse with like a meat grinder thing or
I don't
know. Med kit? I guess a med kit. Yeah, you're right.
The little girl though, like the thing that makes him do this is like this little girl's wandering by herself. Also, like where has this girl been? But they're like, come here, Gail, come here. So the main girl, Melissa George or whatever, she runs away with this little girl. And then like I don't know, it was just kind of like dumb. It was like they're hiding under a car the whole time. Why couldn't they hide in a house? I don't know. Vampires, they're supposed to be able to smell blood. They can't smell these people right outside laying under this truck. It was just it was ridiculous.
And I thought like, you know, they had a very distinct look to the vampires. And then there was like the main vampire and he had like a fresh cut every time, right? Like his hair was just like, he looked like he just got his hair cut. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, everyone else has got like blood chunks and like beaver teeth and shit, and he looks suave. He was like, what's up? He's doing those rap battles about God, and the dialogue definitely dipped when the vampires talked.
Yeah,
and it's like I have a fresh haircut, but I don't know how like time zones work and light and on the earth. It makes no freaking sense.
I would just love to see this guy having to learn this fake language and be like, "Itulu mandanana," and just like having him say it and just like be like, "God damn my life, like, what is this?" But okay, so there is, maybe I missed something, but that bald vampire, didn't they kill him like before they threw him into the wood chipper thing? Am I crazy? He came into the house and they killed him, right?
I think there's 2 bald vampires, if I had to guess.
Oh,
I feel the same way, dude. I feel like I missed. There has to be multiple bald vampires. I don't know.
But there's like the one that looks like Batista, but like then I thought was the one that got killed in the house, and then they throw him in the wood chipper later. So I was like, did my Tubi like cut something? Like what happened?
I think that's the problem with this movie, is that it's a little sloppy like that.
I don't know. There's the vampires weren't that memorable, except for the John Huston guy that you were talking about, Dom, who's like suave or whatever.
He looks like he's about to go host the Oscars.
That actor.
That guy's in Yellowstone.
That guy's in everything. Yeah. You know him, right, Dom?
Yeah, I was gonna say I know him from Yellowstone.
Jack Harlow.
He's from something else too.
He's in a ton of movies. His sister is the original Morticia Addams from the Addams Family movies.
Oh, what's her name?
Can't remember. Something Houston.
Yeah. It's something really famous. Don't worry about it. Sleep is stupid. But yeah, I feel like there was certain shots, like Eric, like those aerial shots of all those people getting wiped out. There's some pieces that like really felt on purpose. And then there were other times where it's like, because we want the vampires to be constantly a threat and like constantly killing people, we can't spend too much time developing any one person. So you kind of had a bunch of like, all right, this is the hot girl. Like the brother's obviously a priority, and then everybody else is just like each location they dedicate 1 or 2 people to it.
Yeah,
kind of like The Mist.
Couldn't agree more. But I think The Mist is way better than this. movie. That's my take. But,
oh my god, but The Mist was like The Mist story
is better than totally. That's fair.
Yeah. This is much more about just survival or whatever.
Just kind of missed the execution. I do have a little joke I want to tell. I saw a meme the other day about like, why are vampires always like super rich and wealthy and can afford all these like nice clothes? Like if you think about what's his name, Chris Sullivan or Sutherland from Fright Night. So he's able to afford this mansion or like the house and all this stuff and all these paintings and everything. And it's like, well, if you've been alive since the Crusades and you're still broke, then you should just walk out into the sun.
That's true.
You have like 500 years of like developing money and stuff, and
centuries knowing you can't die, so like all this stuff.
Like if you're still broke, just walk out into the sun, bro. You're done. Like,
oh my god.
I'm listening to an audiobook right now of like the Tommyknockers, and it's narrated by the dad from Lost Boys, like the vampire ends up being the vampire. He like
he passed away, right? He's
2014.
Yeah, he's Gilmore Girls too.
Yep. And I was just thinking about vampire movies, and I'm thinking Lost Boys.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love vampire movies. I think this is one of the No, it's kind of like in the middle. It's kind of in the middle for me.
I think it portrays what a vampire would be in reality. Like just animalistic more than anything. It's very werewolfish. Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. Like, there's good parts. There's a lot of good parts. It's just the execution is just not totally good.
But dude, you nailed it right there, right? It's like, this is what a vampire thing probably would be in reality. But the reason that people like vampire movies, it's typically one vampire who infects an entire town, and it's all characters, right? All people that like kind of fill a specific part, and you kind of watch one by one him reach each one of them, and it's like, this movie doesn't have that. And I don't blame anyone in particularly, but because like they had to get right to the action. But I could have used a stronger ending, or just maybe cut that out. Maybe if it was 30 minutes shorter, and it, maybe just brought it to a close after that night, it would have been, I don't know. I think they went a little too far.
Also, the hot girl who missed her flight, I mean, I feel like just replace her with any generic actor. I don't think she did good. I was not impressed by her acting at all. Terrible to say, but yeah.
Well, the ending, I think they literally, because a couple of the vampires get away, and he's like, should I go after them? She's like, no, it's fine. Like, you're here now. But, like, why didn't they try and, like, lock him in the basement or something, keep him out of the sun, and try and figure out a cure or whatever? And then because we know the vampires are there, the sequel material here, guys, he could go after the vampires. I don't know.
Aren't you going to ask me about a sequel idea?
What's your sequel idea?
I mean, it's Independence Day Resurgence, but 30 Days and 30 Nights Resurgence. Like, the vampires are going to build up and be like, the next time 30 Days and 30 Nights rolls around, we're coming in hotter with more vampires and more cool shit and gonna, yeah.
Do you call it 31 days because it's a leap year? 31 days of a night?
I love it. The leap year. Yes.
It's like, wait, this year's 31 days.
I don't like it, Alec. I don't like it. I love it. And this year's a leap year too, by the way. So.
Oh, good. That'd be so funny if they actually wait, the sun's supposed to come up. It's like, you idiots, it's a leap year. It's like, dun, dun, dun.
Oh my god. Oh, that would be the worst ending ever.
Oh,
it's like, we just gotta hold out for like 3 more hours.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the sun, bro? Where's the sun? It's like, it's February 28th. It's like, oh my god.
You stupid fucking idiot. Oh god. All right, really quick before we wrap up, Dom, you brought up something earlier that I definitely want to talk about. Alaska's having a moment right now with True Detective Season 4 taking place in Alaska.
Unintentional that we're doing this completely.
Yeah.
Awesome, though.
It's sick. And it takes place, in Enos or whatever, Alaska, which is not real. But this takes place in Barrows, Alaska, which used to be the most northern part of the United States or whatever, which is like right up to near the Arctic Circle. But in 2016, they actually voted it back to the indigenous, Inuit tribe name or whatever. So now it's called the original name. So this movie takes place before that. So it was Barrows, but now it's like a different name. So I don't know. I thought that was a little interesting.
What's the name called?
I definitely don't.
This one, I know it's like a U word or whatever I saw.
Yeah, put you on the spot. It's like,
yeah, I know. I just wanted
really
to do
hard
it.
to pronounce.
There's no way you could pronounce it.
I need to find it now. I looked up that little tidbit, but I don't know. But hold on.
Sorry, you don't have to do it.
Dude, that would be my worst nightmare, to try to pronounce something. I remember, this is such an inside baseball story. I remember Alec and I were in the same theater class, and like 7th grade, maybe 12 years old, and the teacher gave out different monologues to go read in front of everyone. And I might be dyslexic in the way that I read out loud, just like a fear of mine. And the one they gave to Alec had huge words, and he didn't stumble or anything. He was I was like, dude, I would have just got lost. I would have left. I couldn't have. It was it was meant to be hard. And I was like, he's like, and I went up to him afterwards. I'm like, dude, that was amazing. He goes, oh, I made it up, man. If I didn't know a word, I just just made it up.
I don't remember that at all.
You just kept going. You just let your eyes just do the talking. And just
the confidence.
Yeah, love it.
Mrs. Benson, she taught Will Friedle at Avon Middle School.
Oh yeah, I do kind of remember her now.
Really?
Yeah, I do remember her now.
So wait. Oh, I thought you said Will Ferrell. Will Friedle from Boy Meets World. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And actually, my dad was telling me. Do you guys remember the movie Rocket Man?
Yeah.
With
the guy from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, he's a stand-up comedian. He's Canadian, or not Canadian. I can't remember his name. Fuck. But the girl from that, Jessica Lundy, she also went to Avon High School. The main love interest in that movie.
Oh, when he sings Jimmy Critic, When You Wish Upon a Star to Her.
Yeah.
I remember.
He sure does, dude.
Yeah.
What does he say in that movie? I haven't seen this movie in so many years, but he's like,
not me. When he's farting in the suit. It wasn't me.
No, but he does something where he's like, they're putting him in the spinner suit, and they're like, this could be a little bit dangerous. And he's like, dangerous is my Chinese neighbor's middle name. I was like, what?
Well, that was the 90s, dude. That was the 90s.
It's a Disney kids movie from the 90s. Yeah.
I remember the popcorn kernel from the movie too, when he's got it, yup. And it's like, did you solve it? He's like, no, I just have a popcorn kernel and just got it out of my mouth. I always thought that was funny.
Harlan Williams, that's his name.
Yeah, that's the one.
That girl, I remember being very, as a young boy, being like, you know what? That's who I'm going to marry.
Alec, not only proud of Connecticut, but proud of Avon, Connecticut. So there we go.
Which not in this movie, but yeah.
Real quick, budget of this movie was $30 million. Feels about right. It made $75 million, so it made its money back big time. 51% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 56% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that great of a score, but it made money.
$30,000 or $30 million is not a lot of money for the amount of stars they had.
Yeah,
you feel like that, but I mean, the budget was 30 million. It made 75. So that's like more than double the budget.
But it's marketing. It
Sure.
loses a ton of that still. But it did make a prequel and a sequel. I think they're both straight to DVD, but I didn't see them. But maybe someday. Maybe someday. Well, you guys have any last minute thoughts on 30 Days a Night?
No, I think this is the last like Josh Hartnett movie before he kind of went into retirement for a bit.
What about Sin City?
Oh yeah, was this?
Oh no, that was no. The Sin City's before this. It was before this.
He's in Sin City for like a minute. Like,
Hey.
What about Lucky Number 11? Love that shit. Love that movie.
Yeah.
Another
You're right,
number
though,
movie.
Dom. You're right.
40. What is it? The one when he has? To,
40 Days
sex?
and 40 Nights. Yeah.
The same movie. Like, accidentally rent the wrong movie back in the day with this. I guess I don't know.
30 Days a Night, 40 Days, 40. Yeah. That is it's kind of funny.
It's in his contract.
Could you merge the two and make that a sequel? It's like you can't have sex with a vampire for 30 days.
That's pretty funny. 35 days or whatever.
Last minute thoughts. Anne Frank meets Alaska and vampires. That's what I think about when I think about this movie.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's fun. I just was a little shorter. I don't know. They're going for the like crazy over the top, like fun, getting hit with like, snow plows and chainsaws and shit. Just have fun. Have it be an hour and a half. I don't know. But anyways, Eric, what do you say? Spin the old wheel.
I say we shall. Hold up. I think we only have like 2 films left, right?
Yeah, I don't know. We have, but it's not much.
All right, so we have Blue Velvet and Cold Prey, I believe. All right, let's spin that wheel. Spinning. It is closer to Blue Velvet.
All right, Blue Velvet. Yeah, this is like a horror adjacent film. It's David Lynch, so it's always a little weird, but it's one of my favorites. It's fucking out there, but hopefully you like it, Eric.
I think Dom actually told us to put this on the wheel at one point, or we talked
Did you,
to
Dom?
about Blue Velvet. I kind of briefly remember that. Was it
I don't
Dom?
remember my own. I may have said something. Who knows? I really.
don't know.
That's sure. Sounds right.
Have you seen that movie, Dom?
Yeah, dude.
Well,
okay.
we definitely talked about Blue Velvet on a podcast, though, didn't we?
I was gonna say maybe we didn't talk about it, but I definitely have seen that movie.
I'm gonna have to look back. I might be totally wrong.
Well, Dom, thank you again. As always, we're definitely gonna have a Stephen King movie coming up soon. We'll probably do. If there's a Tommy Knockers film, right?
I think so. Eric and I had talked about it a little bit, and it's a big book, so I'm like starting it now. And by the time, having a baby in a month and a half or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then yeah, dude. But hey, we got maybe 1 or 2 more until I have 20 episodes. So keep me in the rounds.
All right. Oh yeah, dude.
All about it.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, Dom, and we'll see everybody next week with a Blue Velvet.
Woo!